In this video I'm going to tell you a little bit about Aquatica, not a new game. It came out before the pandemic, I believe, so about 5,000 years ago. Aquatica is a competitive game, also playable solo, and it is a game of tableau building. Although it's not a new game, the publisher asked me if I wanted to take a look because they say that there is a big Coral Reef expansion coming out soon, and well, hadn't played the base game. I'm curious about this expansion, so I played the game and I'm going to tell you a little bit about it today. I played, however, full disclaimer, only the solo version, which, from my understanding, is probably not going to be very different from the multiplayer because pretty much you don't need much of an AI or an extra procedure when you play the solo game, and the solo game is like play your turn as normal. And you know that the game is pretty much multiplayer solo anyways. We have this board here that we use to organize cards. It has 4 objectives up there, 4 goals, and when you fulfill the conditions, the requirements of one of those, you will simply place one of your mantas there to mark the fact that, hey, I scored 8 points because of that. And somebody else meets the same condition, and then they get a little, not quite as many points, and you have variable objectives that you can place there to change how the game works. Now we have an area where we're going to store location cards that we will acquire to build our empire, and then we have character cards. We buy those also. Speaking of character cards, each player has a set of starting cards that are exactly the same for everybody, and they have effects at the bottom, and the effects are for some symbols here and there, such as, that means pick up, so pick up all. Thus, the effects are pretty self-explanatory. The idea is that you will play a card and do what it says. Then you also have unique cards. At the beginning of the game, each player receives one of these cards to add to their personal set. And you can assign them randomly or you can draft them. And then during the game, you will acquire even more cards. Now, during your turn, pretty simple, mandatory action, you will take one of your cards and play it in front of you and do what it says. It's mandatory that you play it and you try to resolve as much as possible of it. And a very important thing that you will want to do is to acquire those location cards. You will acquire them in one of 2 ways, either by conquering them, in which case you need to produce the number of tridents indicated here, so I can conquer this location with 3 tridents and this one with 7, or you can buy it, producing the corresponding number of coins. And once you collect a location, suppose that in earlier turns I had collected these locations here, I place them in my own personal tableau. And how do you place them? So this tableau here has these slots here. As you can see, the card slides in. Once I place a card, once I acquire a card, I place it in there and I slide it up until only the top icon in the bottom left, or say on the left side of the card shows. So like that. That means that I can now use the effect that is visible there on top. And so, for example, if I am indeed, oh, sorry for the glare, if I am indeed, if I want to buy a card on top of what my action may generate, maybe my action gives me a coin, on top of that one, I can also say, slide that one, and that gives me +2, and slide that one, that gives me +1. And that's one way of generating resources. Also, if we're conquering, for example, if I conquer in a location, I could slide this one there, and it gives me +2 conquering points, but only for locations that are marked with the shipwreck symbol, as you can see there. So that's the general mechanic. By taking action, sliding up cards, I can also activate other effects. For example, this one allows me to pick up a card from my personal discard pile. And some of these, as you can see, are blank. That's pretty annoying. That means I will need to use other effects that will allow me to slide the card up so I can get rid of those things. And there will be a point when, of course, only the bottom ribbon of each card is visible. When that is the case, you can finally score it. If you use a card that has the symbol here of the whatchamacallit, the treasure chest, or if you use such a symbol from one of these cards, they may also have it, then you can take the action of taking a card that was entirely used up, only the bottom showed, and you place it in your scoring area. That would be there, but here we're gonna put it there, works just the same. And suppose I do that again and I score also this one. Now you see some of these also have the symbol of a manta. When I score a card like that, I collect a manta with the same symbol. Here, for example, this one gives me 2 coins. This I get a manta that gives me +1 coin, and you have several. You have a supply of mantas with similar effects. Again, the symbol is not super visible, kind of like light purple on gray. Each player also has a set of 4 unique mantas, which are the ones that, as you can see, can be used to score the goals up there. However, they also have symbols on their own on the back, and so as I am taking actions, I can also choose to flip a manta to its spent side to generate extra conquest points, to slide up a card that is that effect to get an extra coin, or to get extra points to conquer specific locations. And once I use those effects, they're flipped that way for the time being. I will get to unflip them when I play this card here. That also allows me to pick up all of the cards that I played earlier. As you play your cards for your actions, they form your discard pile. By playing the Matrona, you get to pick up all of your cards back into your hand, and also to unflip all of the mantas. So their effects is available again, but the Matrona herself is always around. You cannot discard her. Now, the general idea is this. You will collect the characters and locations, use the effects of the locations, place them to a point where you can score them, and then at the end of the game, well, you will score those points right there, 5, 5, and 4, plus points generated by the goals up there. And the player with the highest score wins the game. And the end of the game is triggered when somebody has completed all 4 goals, so they have their 1 manta on each track, or when one of these 2 decks runs out. And that's the general idea. Now, the solo version, as I said, very similar to the multiplayer, because pretty much you take your turn as normal. It is just that whenever you pick up your cards by using the Matrona, or wherever you refresh that area, because when you collect these locations, it's not refreshed automatically. There is an action that when you take it will slide all the remaining cards that are here up there, and then you will replenish the space there. So whenever you either pick up your cards or you refresh the locations, in the solo version, you will also place the manta of a non-playing party on one of those objectives. Any one that you choose, possibly one that you have already scored, so that they don't occupy a nice spot. That's pretty much it. When all the 4 non-playing mantas have been placed, meaning that you are taking the action of picking up your own cards and or refreshing the locations 4 times, the game is over and you score points and you're trying to beat your previous score. And this is how you play Aquatica, both in general and in the solo version that I played. I played the game solo mainly because the game night that I went to play with my friends, nobody showed up. And sometimes it just works like that with people's schedule. But I liked it. I liked it this way. And again, I didn't feel that I probably missed all that much. I feel that if you're playing it multiplayer, you're waiting for your turn, you're waiting for other people to do their thing. But I don't think the analysis paralysis is going to be too bad. I don't think that's going to be a problem because the turns are going to be fairly simple, fairly short. You spend some resources, even if you take an extra action, it's maybe like picking up a card or sliding something down. So analysis paralysis shouldn't be too bad unless, I don't know, maybe the person right before you gets that one card that you wanted to take. But as a solo puzzle, I found it very enjoyable. I wasn't missing anything. I was enjoying precisely the things that I like in a solo puzzle. Simple, intuitive, with some interesting decisions, with some nice choices, with a certain architectural choice, because you start with not many options necessarily. You may not be able to generate a lot of resources at the beginning, so you may settle with some cards that are not super exciting, but it's good to start with. Then they give you some extra resources, so you get better characters, so you can start going for those bigger cards. And well, the way the production, the general idea with the cards sliding down and the possibility of sequencing actions is very satisfying. It's very rewarding, again, in such a simple, nice package. Not all of the effects work quite the same with when you play solo, and then you simply avoided those special cards that would interact with other people, especially when it comes to that initial extra card that you have to customize your deck. But between, I don't know if it's deck building, but definitely hand building with new characters coming in, engine building with the cards that you slide there, I like it very much. Some of you, if you watch my reviews of engine buildings, you may know that I enjoy engine building. I do not enjoy engine running. There are some games where once you build an engine, you just keep operating every turn pretty much the same, and it becomes trivial and repetitive, and you do it because it's the best engine there can be. Here your engine runs out because the cards, their combos get exhausted. But then you score those and you start another one. So the engine keeps getting renovated and rejuvenated by adding new parts, and now you have new combos. And maybe you put two effects or two of those annoying things that do not have an effect. You line them up. Then you use a single effect that lets you slide two cards up. So it's satisfying. Satisfying to operate and build the engine because it changes every time. So I'm pretty happy with Aquatica. I'm happy that the publisher reached out, so I got an opportunity to play this game that I had missed originally. And now I'm definitely curious to try the Coral Reef expansion, which I heard will come out soon.